All right, so now next up we have my illustrious friend and colleague and soul sister from another mother, Janaki Severy, and I'm going to officially introduce her. But first of all, I will share a brief story of how we first met. And I was dancing up at the Columbia Tower, which is a private business club here in the Seattle area. It's the second or first largest, tallest building in west of the Mississippi. And I was dancing in a red evening gown with a friend of ours, and she happened to take notice of me. And when I was introduced to her, she took her two hands and put mine in her hand, and she said, "You're a woman coming into power for the first time in your life." And with that said, I had to get to know Janaki Severy, because why not? I mean, really? How did she know me before she knew me, right? It didn't make any sense that she would know so much about me. And before, we had really spoken very much about each other. So no matter what anyone tells you, people buy people. That means that you, as a person, must stand out as someone they want to buy from. When we love the person behind the scenes or the phone or in person, it leverages an emotional kick in to proceed. That engages trust and openness, and that in turn engages saying yes to what you have to offer. Today, you're going to learn how to engage trust and openness, and then you're going to learn a little bit more about love and what love looks like in business from Janaki Severy, the principal owner and of Managing Dynamics. The topic, what's love got to do with it? Thank you so much for joining us here today.
I want to talk a little bit about love. And, love is actually a very interesting topic when we think about business, because mostly when you measure ROI in business, we don't measure love. We measure business outcomes, we measure inputs, and we measure how much we've sold. We measure if we've met our goals. But at the end of the day, one of the things that I've learned, and I'm going to be 74 in August, so I've been around a couple of blocks and know a few things, I hope they're useful, is that ultimately people buy people. There are a lot of products that are similar, and each of them, if they've been done well, can vet and develop what they believe they offer and can be pretty impressive. So what's very interesting about that is that when you think about spiritual vibration, if you want to raise your vibration, meaning that we all are energy beings, and Sally alluded to that and many other people today, we've had this interesting conversation between business impact, making a difference, using tools that help people come your way. But also we've talked about emotion a lot, and emotion is really what we exude as people. So what's very interesting is that we are emotional beings living in a linear world, meaning that many people will tell us that this is a rational world, that things are measured, that things have to have a certain formula. And if you don't follow the formula, you're not going to be successful. And I think about somebody like Aristotle Onassis, who didn't finish high school. Or I think about, Bill Gates, who, had failures in his garage. I think about Thomas Edison, who was ADHD and had 1,700 failures. And somebody finally said, "So how do you feel about all those failures?" And he said, "Well, those are one more thing I get to do to let go of so I can do something successful." So at the end of the day, what started happening to anybody that's successful is that somebody likes them enough to talk about them. And even today, with things going viral, what begins to happen is we get a feeling for somebody. We talk with them, we chat with them, we meet them. And when we are meeting other people, if we liked that experience, we'll talk about it. So we all have a vibration, and that vibration starts at birth in my world, may not be yours, and we can affect it. We can improve it, we can enhance it. When Sally was toning affects vibration. Everything in this universe is an interplay. So if you want to raise your vibration, connect with the power of love. Now, I don't mean you run out and you give people hugs and kisses and try and have some sort of a long-term intimate relationship with them, although intimacy can be as beautiful as a conversation. I mean that the energy that you have that allows you to impact others. So we're going to kind of go back and forth between business principles and this concept. But what I'm talking about is that each person here is here because something attracted you. And I would bet you a significant amount of money that you're here because of the energy you felt. Either Bettina or someone else got excited about this summit, or someone you met at the summit. You normally don't come somewhere if you don't feel connected, if you don't feel it's going to do something for you. So my cat, by the way, who's 19, is here, and she wants to join in often. So she's letting us know that she's also interested in the talk. So we're going to look at the neurobiology of buying. We're going to feel our way into buying. We're going to look at emotional campaigns, personal value versus business impact, 10 key emotions that encourage people to buy, and what to do about all this information. So at the end of the day, the most startling truth is that we don't think our way into logical situations. We feel our way into reason. Emotions are the substrate or the base layer of neural circuitry, underpinning even rational deliberation. And when research looks at top leaders, one of the interesting things is no matter what their background, there is always, for key decisions, an emotional kick out, meaning it feels good. And what does that have to do with love? They have to feel good about it. And feeling good is an expression of approval, and approval is one domain of love. So if I love a product, if I approve of a product, I'm going to have more to say about it. I'm going to share it with other people. If I don't like it, then I'm probably not going to mention it at all. Or if someone else mentions it, I might just say, oh, that so doesn't interest me at all. So emotions don't hinder decisions, they influence them. So how can we get people to love us? How can we get people to want to get to know us or to experience what we share? And the first step is we've got to love ourselves. And one of the hardest things in business is self-confidence. I don't know about you, but I was quite surprised. I was a trainer at the University of Washington, and I had been a special ed teacher. And as a special ed teacher, even though I had 2 master's degrees and a partial PhD, I got a pretty low income for all that education. So when I went into the business world, I charged per my previous experience. So I remember when the people at the University of Washington contacted me and said, you have the lowest hourly rate of all of our consultants. We'd like to recommend that you raise your rate to at least meet the minimum or the medium of the other consultants, or we're happy to tell you the top rate if you want to go for that. Needless to say, when we assign you to work with people, they choose whether or not to work with you, and they will know your fee. I was like, what? I had never thought about my value or anything that would imply value per cost per loving self, because as a special ed teacher, we weren't very valued. I had those kids in the back room that nobody wanted, and they were just grateful I had them. So the switch from being someone who people wanted to work with and repeat working with and pay whatever amount was reasonable for that relationship was very new to me. So we feel our way into buying. I see a lot of campaigns come across my website, and Bettina's heard this a million times. I get concerned when the way the campaign works is it plays on my pain. And a lot of campaigns say, are you miserable? Are you unhappy? Are you this or that? And research will tell you that's what makes people buy. They will tell you that. And I'm here to tell you that might be true. So you might want to walk away from this conversation because it's not what I want to promote. I ultimately believe that people will buy anything that comes from someone that they feel good about, they feel they've got a relationship with that is sincere, or they feel can genuinely help them or care about them. And that is very different than the way research works. So if you're selling a service, which many of us are, a lot of these rolling campaigns that you can buy that are very expensive will have us check the box like, are you lonely? Are you miserable? Do you wish someone can help you? And the more you check, the more the research says you're going to go there. But then the question is this: what do they get when they arrive? When Sally was toning, she took me back to Patricia Sun. Patricia Sun was a sound healer that I met when I was 26. I was at the University of Arizona, and she was a psychotherapist, and she was telling her story. And she said that she was a psychotherapist, and one day one of her patients came and said she had a tumor. And so, without knowing why she was doing it, Patricia's son started feeling on either side of the body with their patient's client's permission. And when she came to a place which had not been previously identified as the location, she started spontaneously toning, just like, ooh. And she, Patricia, who was toning, and the patient both went, what just happened? And I, in the audience, started crying because I'm an empath. And I felt 32 people in the audience be affected by the toning in the story. They didn't come to her talk with known or unknown anything physical, but the toning was healing for them as listeners. And I was crying loud enough that Patricia noticed people were looking at me. And she said, who sees the woman crying? And of course, really hard to miss because I'm trying to not leave the talk, but not cry because I can't help it. She said, she's an empath. She's crying for those of you who can't. Why is that about love and selling? Because I feel people. And I'm going to say a large portion of you feel people too. How do you share that with somebody? Well, people will know if you feel them because they will feel connected to you. There will be something about the moment you meet or something about the first words they say. People make decisions on the first 20 minutes or less of a relationship. And in that first 20 minutes, if you're listening carefully, they're going to tell you what they need. But you have to get out of the way. You can't be selling. You can't be asking them a lot of questions about, are you unhappy? Are you miserable? Do you want somebody to help you? Because in my world, that may get them to buy. But ultimately, you want to build a relationship. I have people that come back to me for 20 and 30 years. They keep coming back. Why? Because I'm not selling a product. I am offering a relationship with some skills that are consistent, and they know I'm always improving. So what I did 15 years ago is available, but I also have new tools. So it's very important that we think about this. 31% of advertisers report gains from emotional campaigns. 16% report gains from those that appeal to the rational side. 26 report the same with a combination. So what would it be like if you actually use your emotions, if you work with Advanity or some organization like that to help you identify what is your appeal? What is it that you offer? And in doing so, begin to leverage that emotional value because it isn't always available in traditional sales. So when two groups of people receive two different donation seeking opportunities, which one gets the most success? The emotional story or not? The emotional story. If I can share emotion, if I can share personal stories, Sally talked about her personal story, Bettina talked about our story. Two has a story. When we share our story without becoming braggers, but we share a genuine personal story that we have overcome one or more things, that has the other person lean in and say, I want to be able to do that. Or whatever they've already overcome, they think maybe that person can help me go to the next level. And what is that about? Love is an emotion of being open. It's a high vibration. It lets the person know that you are safe. If what you're advertising is a result that can be damaged over time, what do I mean by that? Maybe your sales aren't that great, or maybe what you're doing isn't current. They might leave you, but if who you are is what they're buying, they won't. So when you look at personal versus business impact, we find that people have to find a personal value. What I offer is a relationship. I offer an ongoing relationship with a significant amount of skills. And I'm going to tell you a story to show you how interesting this works. So I had a 12-year, well, now it's 14-year relationship with a client, and 99% we only met as client and coach. But once in a while we met for dinner. And so periodically, even if she wasn't using my services, I would reach out and ask her how she was. And I didn't hear from her for a while. So I checked in and I checked in and I checked in, and I didn't hear back from her. So because the mind sorts for danger, because we sort 80% more for, oh, something's not right, I began to be afraid I'd offended her. Like, she isn't getting back to me. And so sure enough, about a week or two later, she reached out to me again and she said, I'm so sorry I haven't been able to reach out to you. Our company's being sold. She was a CFO and she said, I'm in up to my eyeballs in data and paperwork, but I would love to meet with you for dinner if you don't mind my treat. So, okay, so my first is, okay, we still have a relationship. So I meet her for dinner and I'm learning all the things that have been challenging for her. And she doesn't really need a coach. She's just trying to get a bunch of data done for the buyer of the company. And then she's going to get another job. She didn't want to stay with the purchaser. And she hands me, she says, would you accept a gift from me? And I said, sure. And it's Christmas. I'm thinking, book, journal, cards, something. So she hands me an envelope. She said, don't open it till you get home. Well, of course, I couldn't wait. I got to my car and I opened it. She gave me $1,000 in cash. And the note was, for the last 12 years, you have been my secret weapon. And this isn't a business gift. This is a gift of me to a friend who has always been there. And you have made a really big difference in my life. How do you sell that? You can't put that in any kind of B2B advertisement. That woman today is now 15 years my friend. She no longer uses me as a coach because she's got a great job. But we just had dinner a week ago. So I'm telling you that because I think that we have to take a look at all the ways we have relationships. So if you look at this is the wheel of emotion, one of many versions. And if you look at the inside of this wheel, you'll see there's ecstasy, vigilance, rage, loathing, amazement. But when you look at the things outside, you can look aggressiveness, contempt, remorse, disapproval, but you look up here and you have love. You have optimism. And when you look here at these things, this is what people long for. Today in our world, everyone's afraid. Nothing is predictable. You don't know if your bank account's stable. You don't know if you need to wear a mask. You don't know if you should or should not get one more vaccination. You don't know if you can or cannot be friends with your friends who haven't had them. You don't know what's going to happen politically. People are longing for connection. And it isn't just about business. They're longing for people that make them feel seen and safe and cared for. And I'm going to tell you that every person in this conference that I know many, do that. They are not just business people. They are amazing people who incidentally sell remarkable skills. So these are the typical emotions that people use to get people to buy. You can't get a better deal than this. They're called pieces of persuasion, and they tag on fear. Be the envy of your neighbor. Talk to our representatives. You can stop worrying now because we've got your back. I am a rebel. I am offended by this. I'm not mad that people use it. I don't like it. I don't want to talk to people and say, be the first of your friends to take advantage of me and my skills. But this is very typical. So I'm not saying it's bad, and it does work. This is what I'm after. The source of energy for all positive relationships is love. It is the highest form of energy. By immersing yourself in love, starting with self-love, you change your frequency. You'll walk into a room and people will come to you and say, I'd really like to meet you. They don't know why, but you emote something that makes them feel close, safe, curious. These vibrations go out into the world. This frequency can be experienced by remembering when you were loved or a time you've loved. I remember the first time my daughter was 3 months old. I was not a babysitter person. And I didn't know much about babies and evolution. And at 3 months is when their little weeble heads can be held up. And I remember I was by myself at home, and this little baby who was on her tummy weebled up and got a little smile and a drool and dropped her head down. I must have called 600 people. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. A lady just lifted her head. And they're going, yeah, babies do that. No, but you don't understand. She lifted her head. the love I had for this amazing being, I remember today. I remember that when my clients have a success. I see this with my friend Bettina. The love I have of the journey she's had is mind-blowing. Bettina has lifted her little weeble head so much you can't even imagine. That is what drives me. It isn't anything but that. So these are all the laws that I like to work with. The law of belief, the law of expectation, the law of attraction, the law of correspondence. We are longing for people like us. And I believe there's a different way to let ourselves be known. So I want us all to have high vibrations and know when our vibration is low and seek each other out. Be able to ask each other to help. So here's what we know. The heart is 100,000 times stronger electrically and up to 5,000 times stronger than the brain. We all have a toroidal energy field around us, and that field is palpable. So I close by asking you to pay attention to the vibration you hold, the capacity you have, and always, always count on the fact that people will be attracted to you because of who you are. Thank you.